your business has to be flexible, has to be adaptable as things change, as people change, as economies change. So you may be, because I tend to do things from passion and with passion. So when I started this, you see how I had to change from creating my own thrift store and move into more into the technical field. That was quite a It was more like goodbye, little dream, and hey, bigger dream.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're watching us from. Today we're having a conversation with Emma. I'm super, super excited. And so just let's sit up. If you don't have your glass of tea or coffee or water, just get yourself your glass and let's get ready to have a conversation with Emma. Hi, Emma. Thank you.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I hope yours are good.
Yes, I'm great. I'm super excited. I read your profile and I was like, wow, this is super interesting. And I really want to know more about what you do. Obviously, I know a little bit, but my audience today watching this interview would love to hear more. So if you could give us a short introduction about who you are. Who is Emma?
Whoa, okay, a short one. So Emma is a mechanical engineer. I'm also an entrepreneur focusing on providing textile waste management solutions to textile-centered businesses and help households with their decluttering of their clothes so that they can be recycled, upcycled, and donated.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing. Could you tell us a little bit about your background, like where you grew up? You're Ghanaian. From what I know, you're currently in Ghana, but tell us, what is your kind of background? How did you grow up? What is your family background? Or
My family is quite huge. I have 5 siblings. I am with 2 girls, so I'm the last girl. I was quite creative growing up, still am. I was interested in, probably because of work, I've not really been, exploring that more. But I, had a love for dance, had a love for art, and I think in little ways I find it showing itself as I have, gotten into the real world from school, into the real world, running a business, experiencing life as it actually is. So yeah, I would say Emma is a ambitious, creative, yet how do you when the introverts, yeah, that's the word. Yes,
I knew you were gonna say that. And you said but it's not a bad thing. A lot of people say but I am an introvert. I knew you were gonna say that. And it's it's everybody's strength. And I love that you added that to it because it is a personality trait as well. It tells a lot about how you interact with others and how you prefer to spend time, how you prefer to rejuvenate. But just a little side note here. A lot of people, when they hear introvert, extrovert, they think extrovert, outgoing, really social. And they think introverts, home buddies who don't like to speak with people, who don't like to socialize. However, I'm sure everybody's going to be shocked when I say this. I'm an introvert. And they'll be like, no, you're not, Rose. But an introvert.
I'm surprised.
I know you're going to. I'm what people call either an ambivert or an introverted extrovert.
Okay.
So introvert, extrovert, from experience and what I've learned about it, it's how you rejuvenate, how you recharge your batteries. So extroverted people are people who recharge their batteries by socializing. They need to be around other people to fill up energy. They feel energized by others and by going out and all of that. And introverted people are those that rejuvenate and recharge their batteries by being in their own spaces, reading, maybe to a park or just spending time alone. They just want to. So that's how I recharge. And so what people think a lot about, people being out all the time. And I love being around people. I love being social. But when I need to recharge, like I just lock myself up or I'd rather be alone. And so I'm that person who's either in between or that introvert who looks extroverted to others.
Then in that case, you are a role model of mine. Yes. I hope to get to your where you are.
I think
Yes.
I think it has a lot to do also with just my work background. When you're forced to be
Mm.
out, I've always been in sales and marketing and all that. When you're forced to be visible in the way, when you have to be
Mm-hmm.
out there, you can't help but do that. So that's my work. I would say that's the external thing, but the inward thing where I could just do my own thing, I'll just spend my day daydreaming and reading a book.
That's beautiful.
So enough about that side note and about me. So tell me, so you said you grew up in a family of five, the youngest, of two girls,
Of the
right?
girls, yeah.
The girls, and your school. Tell us about your schooling time, all of that, because I know what you're doing now, but is that how it started?
Should I go all the way to primary, all the way
Go
to
wherever you
university?
want.
Okay, I would just say I was fortunate in all the instances because some people don't have the privilege of going to school. So
Hmm.
I was fortunate to go to Christ the King. It's in Ghana. And then from there, I went to Holy Child School. So it's a boarding school where you spend 3 years, which is girls and lots of rules. And it was really like, it. They normally say don't just pass through the school or the school pass through you. I used to think that didn't apply to me, but looks like it did. So that's a great thing. I got to be a sports girl in secondary school, did a lot of art, dancing, music. It was really fun. That's my favorite part of my school experience. And then I was also fortunate to get a scholarship into Ashesi University where I got to study mechanical engineering. And that's where I learned that, I am I thought I was a genius before, but then when I go into university, I was like, oh hell no. There's so much work to do, there's so much to learn, there's so much expansion to be done. Yeah.
So another side note, not a side note, but for people watching who don't know about the Ghanaian educational system or the schools in Ghana, I think everywhere in the world people are rooting for their schools, and there's those woo schools, and all the names you mentioned are like woo schools. I know a little bit about the schools in Ghana. So you mentioned Holy Child, all the names you mentioned. I'm like, oh, okay, these are the schools that people are like, oh my God, it's so hard to get in. And Ashesi is one of our top universities. So, wow, such
Yeah.
a nice educational parcours, I would say. And I can imagine you have wonderful stories and memories from those times.
Life changing.
Yeah. So you studied what you studied and then now tell us a little bit about how. First of all, where did that interest come from? Because you said you were much more into arts and dancing. But then
Yeah.
in university, it doesn't seem like that's the route you took. How did we get there?
Well, I started modeling in university.
Okay.
Someone reached out. Oh, it wasn't intentional. Somebody reached out to me to be in his music video, and then from there, it didn't blow up as much, but like it got me some recognition. And so I got to meet fashion designers, meet all of these people, and I did take note of their issue with waste, with the scraps that they produce, and we don't have a proper way to get rid of them. They either burn them or they are overburdened by the amount of waste they produce and they can't do anything with. And so that caught my attention. When I applied for my school's venture incubator, where they help Ashesi alumni and students to develop businesses that have a lot of impact, especially aligned with the SDG goals. I initially went in with the idea of, oh, I'm going to buy an outfit and then transform it and then sell, you know. But when I got accepted with that idea. But while we were in the incubator, um, I got to do some research, and which led me back to my observation with the textile waste. So I'm dealing with clothes, but what happens after we are done with those clothes? Was the question, and which led me back to that. And then I got to do some reflecting, and I realized that even at home, we do this thing where, okay, we do pass down clothes from the eldest to the youngest, but then after the youngest is not it's has grown out of the clothes, what happens? We store them. We're in rooms, in our garages, and they're there for like years and years and years. And I realized, okay, we actually do have a big issue with hoarding and getting rid of textiles or fabric, but in the sense of doing it the green way, sustainable way. So that's how I started. I entered into that space. That yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. It's a coincidence for me. I mean, I learned about the waste in the textile industry a couple of months ago, actually. Really, I wouldn't say randomly. I was part of a panel for an event here in Europe, in Belgium. And one of the ladies who was given a workshop is someone who did studies around what to do with waste from the textile industry, specifically the dust that is created from the machines when they're actually, I think, creating the textiles. There's a lot of dust that flies in the air, apparently, and it's collected somewhere and then they burn it, as you say, or bury it or ship it to countries like India, Ghana.
Yeah.
But so not the actual clothes, but the dust. And so I didn't even know that was a thing that was so much waste. And so she had done a study to kind of see what could be turned, what that dust could be turned into. And really interesting things have been done. And we did a workshop on turning that dust into kind of a cup holder, or she could turn that into bricks and so many. So I think you two would like to be, you should be linked up. So I would definitely connect.
I would love that.
Yeah, because I think she did like a PhD or doctorate, some really long studies about that. And she has a company now, and that's what they do, turning the waste from the textile industries into something sustainable that could really be something. Yeah. So super excited about that. So tell us about, okay, you realized that, and then what? What did you do about it? Clearly you did something about it, but how did that change come about, the company and all of that?
Okay, so from speaking, also we had to do research. We had to do a lot of panel research where we had to go and speak to people, because it's, although we talk about clothes coming in from the global north to the global south, creating extra waste here in Ghana. And I think Ghana was labeled as the largest textile dump in the world not so long ago. Although we have that issue, I personally believe that we as Ghanaians who actually own this land, who have lived here longer than other people, it's up to us to actually change our mindsets, change our relationships with the clothes that we use and the clothes that come into the country. So what I do, so I started my business, which is Elnak Recycle, for the recycling side of it. We are trying to educate people more about how to live a more sustainable lifestyle, but currently focusing on clothing, because we also want to help. It starts with us, actually. Yes, so we want to help people build that habits, or the habits of dealing with their clothes the right way, decluttering, which has to do with actually getting rid of the items to make room for more, because we're the ones living in our own space. Research has shown that having too much clutter or too many things that you're not using or aren't useful to you actually affects your mental health, it affects your productivity a lot to that. So we ended up doing all of that research to see how humans really are connected to our clothes. So yes, we have started with the items we collect from textile sector businesses like the tailors and seamstresses, and from households, where we go in, help them clean out, give them tips, help them reorganize, just to start a fresh, feel, good about themselves. But then what do we do with that waste, right, that we collect? Because there is, believe it or not, no amenity or no amenities for recycling textiles in Ghana. So right now we are focusing on R&D. We've also built our own machinery, but there's a lot to do with it. So what we've been able to achieve so far is a lot, and I'm actually surprised that we've been able to come this far, because when I started, I thought, if nobody does this here, it probably won't work. There has to be a reason nobody does it here. But then, the results, nice.
Wow, amazing. And congratulations to you for not just thinking, okay, I wish something was done, and then just wishing that someone else would do it, and said, what, I'll do something about it. There's a lot of people, wish there was a solution for a lot of things, but don't necessarily look at themselves as the solution provider. And as a coach, that's kind of my thing. When I see people have a talent for something or a skill, I'm like, don't look elsewhere. What about you? What can you do about it? And so I applaud you for starting, but also, as you said, you didn't think it would like be this easy because you're like, oh, probably there's a reason why nobody's doing it.
No,
Probably,
it's not easy. It's not easy, but the results were, yeah, mind
yeah,
blowing.
yeah. It's needed, and so well done. So take us through because you talked a little about the services that you provide. So going into people's homes, helping them declutter, and then actually taking the waste with you
Yeah.
to then turn it into something else. Currently, how is that process really going?
Okay, so I feel like in this space, referring to them as waste, we kind of have to change that because it's more than waste to us. Some people have very sentiment. How do you call it? They're very connected to some clothes they haven't worn before.
Yeah.
Some people have clothes they wore on their honeymoon and they're by now 60 years in clothes. So it's like how you deal with your clothes. It's a sentimental issue. So yeah, so the process is after we go in and we of course we have a free consultation on our website you can book for, and then we help you understand what the steps you have to go through, give you a few tips. If we need to come in, then we come in and we help you, especially like sort out the items. We even help you actually I encourage people to have a few items to keep, just a few items to keep that will remind you about these beautiful memories you have, and then let go of the rest. But yeah, after we do that, we help them reorganize. So the things we collect, we sort them into different categories. We have items that are in very good condition that can be donated. So we put them aside in our batch for donating. The items that are, not so great but something can be done with, we upcycle them. And the items that are beyond use, we recycle those items. But essentially, we know that what we're doing is creating a circular fashion industry, giving some circularity to the fashion industry here in Ghana. But I believe in taking an extra step forward, into the regenerative culture, regenerative economy, where we actually solve the problem that's being caused with action. Or because we all know that consumption probably won't ever end. So we have to find a way to create more sustainable sources for those, textiles people like to buy, people like to use, for the fanciest outfits that they love to wear. And so that's where the recycling comes in, so we can create back all of these fabric. Yeah.
Yeah. Really, really nice. And I think there's a lot of things, I mean, not only in Ghana, but globally, people are trying to look at the fashion industry and see how can we make it more, sustainable, more to last without having to create new things all the time. And so I think it's definitely needed in Ghana. As you said, Ghana is, had been recognized worldly to be kind of a dumping place for a lot of the used clothing industry. But there's a group of people that might say, well, maybe the clothes are sent there because they're not made there. So what do people, besides clothing that is made from wax prints or the prints that are worn locally, people don't actually make cotton t-shirts. So what is your take on that?
So we do have, I'm sure, do you know about Kantamanto?
Yes.
Yes. So the items that come usually in large bills, they come there, the market women see what's good and they're trying their best to sell what they can find. And these items that are sold to probably at a cheaper price, other people come and collect it, people who own stores probably on Instagram, and they come buy the clothing at a lower price from these market women, and then they go and sell it for a relatively higher price. So fortunately there is that chain of reuse. So we're happy about that. However, it turns out that the quality of the items that are coming here is becoming, poor and poor. So that's an issue, meaning the market women get to suffer because they're not getting the money from paying for those bills, and the payment of those bills is just mandatory. You can't search before you pay. You have to take before you search. Yeah. So I would say that a lot needs to be done. So much needs to be done, and government actually has to take part in all of this. Not just I can come up and a couple of us can come up and start our businesses, but government really is the best institution to set rules that will benefit the people, or the livelihood of the people. It's not only about the clothes, about the people's lives and their standard of living.
Mm-hmm.
Really see how clothes connect people. It's it's deeper than you think it is.
Yeah. My mom used to say when she was younger, she used to travel from Ghana, from Takoradi to Ivory Coast quite a lot for sales. And she said a lot of the workers in the banks and in different institutions or private industries always wore prints. So clothing made from wax, locally made wax prints. And she always said, well, that's unfortunate that in Ghana it's not the case. People don't wear locally made. Well, now when I lived in Ghana, it was this thing as Friday local wear thing. I don't know if
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate that it's only on Fridays. But do you think policies or strategies like that could help?
Well, to be honest, even so, some of the waste, we don't just collect waste from people's homes. We also collect from these fashion designers, people who make African print dresses for their clients. So we do collect that type of waste. So just to say that waste from that industry also exists, right? So the solution really is to find a way, like I said before, to produce to make use of what we already have. And use that as a source for the things that can happen next, like the outfits that, even the wax print, it's very possible to use the wax print waste and turn it back into fabric. It's very, very possible. Yeah. So I would say that, of course, we have to celebrate the African culture. And even with that, there are a few issues where we find that some of that print is imported or made from outside. So there's so many. It's just very dynamic. There's just so many areas to it. But definitely, I would love to explore more of that.
Tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurship journey, because you have this now. Do you have a team or do you work alone? I presume you have people helping you in specific parts of the business. Could you tell us about that structure?
Okay, so yes, we have people on the team. It took some time to be able to find the right people because everybody has their own agenda. So I'll just once again say I'm grateful and fortunate to have the people that I'm working with. I do have a business partner who helps with business development. I'm more on the tech side, tech savvy side, more on the fund, our private funds, finding funds to boost the company and improve the company. We also have a few people in operations that have to deal with the decluttering. We have some IT. We have, the hands-on workers, people that help us. And these are pioneer women that we want to continue to support and train them so that, they can also handle themselves aside from our business, as they develop themselves as individuals. So that's pretty much the structure currently. So we're going to expand as we need to. Yeah.
I love that you mentioned the Kayoyo women that you work with. For those of you watching and don't know what that is, the Kayoyo women are group of women that actually in Ghana, when you go to the local markets, you have women that are helping you carry the goods to your vehicle or to your house or whatever. And a lot of times these are women that are coming from the north of the country that are there for economic reasons. They're trying to make a living so they can help and support their families. However, they're very young women working in this industry, if we may even call it an industry, and are not paid very well. It's very difficult and not a safe work to do. And so it's great that you're employing these women as a way out of that industry so that they can help themselves sustain themselves and sustain their families. So really nice social, what would I call it? I wouldn't say social profit. How would you even call that side of your business?
Social impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really nice of you to do that and set up that system. So how did you start? Because you have a technical kind of background. Did you feel confident in starting a business, the entrepreneurial? Even though you have a partner,
Well,
you have someone doing business development. How did it feel? Like, okay, I'm going to do this. Did you have a partner from the get go? How did that go?
I did not have a partner from the get go. It was there were multiple times when I felt overwhelmed because when I look at the vision I set for the business, it's beyond me. And so I've run a couple of businesses before, side hustles on the side while I was in school. And mind you, I started my business and started working on my business right from college, right from university. So yes, it was a huge risk to take because you do have, or I did have family always asking, okay, when are you going to get a job that's going to secure, your salaries? And I'm really surprised that, and at this point where I'm at, I'm actually quite confident about my business, and I don't find myself hating the decision I made. You know, I don't think I also don't see myself quitting, and if I do quit, it's probably to improve something or to create something new out of that. So
Yeah.
the journey has been challenging because as someone who does things from the heart, it's not easy. And you have to learn how to, separate them and see, although you're feeling it, you're like, no, okay, this didn't work. So let's try something else and just move on with that. And you just keep someone told me a couple of days ago, and she actually asked me, are you keeping a journal about everything you're going through, everything you're writing? Because from her point of view, that's a great resource when we're going to upscale or scale up the business. So if anything, the two words I would use are challenging and yet inspiring even for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell us a little bit about, because you said as someone who does business from the heart, can you elaborate on that a little bit more? Do you mean like when working with people and being disappointed, or more as wanting to help people but realizing that it's not a social like it's a business? Is that what you meant? Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
So I would say not the latter part. The former, where you say actually being disappointed by people, that is a given. That's a given, and you get to a point where you have to always have a plan B when dealing with people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But that's just one side of it. Another side would be, your business has to be flexible, has to be adaptable as things change, as people change, as economies change. So maybe because I tend to do things from passion and with passion. So when I started this, you see how I had to change from creating my own thrift store and move more into the technical field. That was quite a it was more like goodbye little dream and hey bigger dream on
Mm-hmm.
the on both the scary side and the sad side, also on a opportunistic side.
Mm-hmm.
But from the heart, recently I could just say that you know when based on data that you're working with in the business, based on people you're working with, sometimes what you set out to do, the way in which you're going to do something, although the vision and the goal is the same, your initial plan might have to alter or change from time to time. I've come to understand that it's normal, but even though my heart was initially tied to the way things I imagined things would be 10 years from now,
Yeah.
I'm learning to embrace change,
Mm-hmm.
and fortunately I'm not just the only person in this business, surrounded by people around me who are sending me, reminding me about the vision, about what we're doing, and like, okay, this is what it is. We have to do this. So even though you feel it in your heart and you're sad about it, it's what it is. You just have to do it. So from the hard side of things, yes, it will be losing people that you thought would be with you in the long run,
Yeah.
and also things changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The vision, kind of the way things actually roll out, change, and I think that's a great tip for anybody watching who is wanting to start their business, who has already a business and is struggling with that change. Change is the only thing constant, as they say. And as an entrepreneur, solopreneur, or small business owner, change is about, things look at the war in Ukraine, things happen and it's beyond your control. And so you may have to pivot your business. You may have to pause some things. And I always say, every quarter or at least twice a year, you need to sit down strategically with your team or with yourself as the CEO of your own business and look at what are you going to pause, what are you going to stop, and what are you going to, pivot or something. And so because it's bound to happen, and holding on to that is what's going to make it hard for your business to evolve. And so I think that was a great lesson that you learned, and that thanks for reminding us of that you'll have to do that if you want to grow and evolve in your business. You'll have to prepare yourself for the change and pivot. Tell us, because you talked about, the vision starting with your thrift store. Did you just say, I was like, nice. Even though it's evolved now, is that, have you found a way to kind of incorporate it now in your business? Or are you like, oh, it's completely done? No, but I don't have a place anymore.
You know how I said that I'm happy. I thought I did start being a creative person, dance, music, all of that. And then I kind of but I found myself stopping along the way, focusing on business. It's still with that that thrift store. I find us doing something similar in our upcycling department. Which is amazing. So, although at the beginning it was like, oh no, don't go. But right now it's like, oh, hello again, but in a different sphere. Yeah.
I love that. I really love that idea. So, share with us some of the highlights you've experienced in your business since you started. What are some of the things that are reminding you of your vision, and it's making you happy and feel like, oh wow, this is the reason why we're doing this?
Okay, so there are many, but I'll just go down to start with the basic one, which is whenever somebody calls our line and says, we need you. That's like, okay, so yes, what we're doing, people need it. We're actually providing a solution. So that's one of like the basics. I would say also, after I launched the company, I got to do a TEDx talk, and there was so much to talk about, but I ended up narrowing it down to speaking your truth, right? Because that's something that being an introvert and always, I used to worry about what people thought about me, etc. And being able to grow in that space, and it actually really helps when you're running a business, because you actually have to set the tone and ensure that people are doing what they're doing. So that was monumental for me as a person, as a business owner, being able to, because it's about the person who's running the business. Whoever you are running the business, it's about you. So being able to speak my truth in that sense. Another would be, I would say I think it's all down to my customers. Wow. When one customer met us and she said she believes God sends us to her or to them, because like they've been searching for a solution, because they've had like lots of clothes in their home, and they had family coming over, so they just didn't know what to do with the clothes, and then we were there for them. So I do. We also got picked into a set of things. We got some grants. We are looking to get a few more, which is amazing. Right now, I could. Give me a year from now, I'll probably be like, it got bad. But right now, it's more like, okay, we are focused on the action plan. For me, that's what makes me happier. Yes, we get the money, but what are you using the money for? So, that's very important to me. So, my growth as a person, as a business, is what I am very happy about. So, yeah.
On achieving all of that on the TEDx talk, and the obviously, as you said, is when customers are happy and they say they need you and they have found you. That's basically it's not basic, but that's like the most. It's like, oh my God, that's what I do it for. That's what you do. Like when people say, "Oh my God, thank you so much. I'm actually looking for someone to help me set up my business," or "I'm so overwhelmed, I don't know what to do. I'm about to throw in the towel," and you just showed up on my Insta or mentioned your name. I'm like, "Yes, girl, let's do this." So I can completely relate, and yeah, thank you for not giving up on that dream, and for pushing through, and then showing us the way. Could you tell us, or maybe give us some advice for someone watching and thinking about maybe starting a business, starting something that, like, we need a solution for this? And I always tell my clients or people, are looking to start their business working with a coach, start with what you love, start with what you're good at, and what you think your community needs. Because people say the world, but you can't serve everyone. Start a group of people that you feel, okay, I can make a difference there. And so you did that by focusing on something you're interested in, you're really good at, and also it is solving a big, big issue. So thank you for that. So what tip would you give to someone who's contemplating, or maybe has started and is like, you know what, this dream is way too big for me? What would you say to that person?
I would say, oh, there's so much to say. Do I not have to say one thing?
No, you could say,
oh, oh great. Because I do have like, a note section where every time I go through something on my phone, I always just type, my lessons from the experience. So there's so much here. And I think I'm to narrow it down with you, but for somebody who's starting, I would say one, speak life into what you're doing. Because it's very easy to be helpless with it. I feel you would know the word I'm looking for, to be discouraged. Yeah,
and be negative. Yeah.
Because there's so much right now. The world is getting even crazier, and everything, all the odds may be against you probably. But if you don't try, you might regret ever not trying it. And if you're already doing it and you feel like giving up, I would just say keep going, and don't take anything personal. I was like, that's hard for me to even accept, right? But I would also say, don't be consumed by what people think about you. I saw something today which I had a little low yesterday. And, sometimes the social media is great at just bringing you what you need right where you need it. And what I saw someone said, whenever you have a seed, do not go telling everybody about it, about what you have, etc. Actually, because whenever you put a seed in the ground, it's covered. You don't always go uncovering it, otherwise it won't grow. So, because I do know that some people may have your best interests at heart, but they do not know that what they're doing may or may not negatively affect your business. So just keep it to you and the people you believe are worthy enough to know about what you're doing or who can help you with what you're doing, and just try and work on that until you get to this point where you're like, okay, it's time. The timing is right for this business to go. This service that we're offering to go, global, to go to just announce it. So I'll just say nurture your baby with the right people or just by yourself. Just do not keep uncovering the seed. That's what I would say.
I love that. I really love, thank you for sharing all these tips. And I love that you're keeping all of that, that you're kind of journaling. And journaling has been something that I preach. I've been doing it since I was 15.
Wow!
Tell anybody. And I've been journaling for a very long time, personally, just to kind of clear my mind, share my experience. But one of my favorite things to do is actually reading what I wrote, because I think that you learn the most from that. And you're like, really? Did I just write that? As if someone else had told me, and I said, no, I never said that. And then I read it, I'm like, oh my God, I actually wrote that. This is really. And I realize how dramatic I am sometimes, because everything you experience at the moment feels so much like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. And then you're like reading it and you think, okay, it wasn't that bad. Yeah. Or what's the lesson from this? So it's great that you're kind of keeping that, because in everything, good or bad, there's always a lesson. And you're not keeping that to yourself, and you're sharing that with us. So thank you so much. And I absolutely love the last one where you said, because people talk a lot about when you have an idea, don't share it. And I've always kind of felt double about it. Like, in the sense that it was like people like, yeah, maybe some people don't have good intentions. And I was like, well, it's kind of expecting bad energy. So I wasn't completely sure about that. But I love the way you put it in the sense that don't keep uncovering it. And that analogy of when you have a seed and you have the soil on it, you can't just uncover it each time because it's not going to grow. And putting it that way makes me understand that in that sense, yeah, it cannot grow if it doesn't have the soil protecting it and, all these nutrients and all of that. And so wait till the little, plant is coming out.
Oh, I love plants. Yes.
It's obvious for everyone to see, oh, you're working on something. Oh, I can see something. And you're like, yes. Sometimes you don't need to tell anybody. It will be small in your grass. Nobody will notice till it's big. And you're like, and they think it's an overnight success. Like some plants take forever to sprout. It's like, seriously, when are you going to sprout?
It's about the journey too. Yeah.
And before you know it, in 2 weeks, it's like, boom. And you're like, people might see it and think, oh, she just started and she's doing so good. But they forget that you were watering that seed for...
The amazing thing about that is by the time it blooms, you're prepared to handle it. And you're prepared to handle other people's opinions, other people's involvement in that.
Yeah. I think if we all will be patient enough to water our seeds and nurture them and have the, the consistency to show up time and time after time when nothing is sprouting, when at least to the eye, you can't see anything. If we can do that, then definitely we'll be strong enough to handle whatever comes our way once it sprouts out and is really growing into this beautiful tree or whatever. So yeah, I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. What would I wanted to ask you something as well about, your business is very much, I know I watch Marie Kondo. I don't know if you know about her, Japanese woman, voila. That goes into home, helping people spark joy. That concept is decluttering is a concept that's, I would say, pretty Western. People in the Western world are conscious of hoarding and decluttering, but growing up as an African with African mom, I feel like our parents, at least I'll speak for my mom, they hoard a lot. And I feel like it's coming from a place of lack because you didn't have so much. My mom she believes that there's a use for everything. And I agree with her to some extent. In her head, I shouldn't throw away anything because someone could use it back home that she knows. And to be honest, there are people she knows really that could use it. But I'm like, really? Do you really want to keep that? And I'm thinking your service that you're providing, how many of your clients are, local Ghanaians, I would say? Because is that concept a thing? Do most Ghanaians look at their lives in terms of either having too much? Because I feel like a lot of people in general in the world feel like they're coming from a place of lack, not feeling like they ever have enough. So your service is for people that actually realize they have more than enough. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So so to answer your question about, is it mostly Ghanaians who are our clients? Yes, most of our customers are Ghanaians because we have to go into their homes and clean out. I did speak with a family, a mother who explained to me that growing up, she didn't have much. They didn't have much. And when she would travel outside, they used to do sales. People would put their clothes on the lawn. So just go get the clothes and come back. So if you come down here, it's like, yo, you got really good clothes. Where do you get them from? You look so good. And it would surprise you that they mostly wear those clothes like at most 3 times a year, if even, right? So yes, people do also hold a lot of sentimental value to the clothes that they have. So your mom saying that, yes, somebody might need it, that's true. Someone would need it, you never know. But at the same time, I feel we have to weigh the benefits of actually letting go to, hoarding those things. Because letting go gives you space to create more memories and create more, bring in new things or new experiences in life. And I feel like once we get to encourage people, because that's what we try to do, encourage our community about, the joys of letting go, the joys of properly, not just letting go, properly letting go. We do it so the green way. We let them know about their impact in the world, because them doing that way really affects the world as a whole.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a slow but sure process, because it's about changing people's mindset. This is how we have been for years. Our mothers have always been like that. And so we're trying to, what we do here, we're trying to change it to be a more of a rewarding service. So if you work with us, or if you clean out with us, you actually get a plaque or a sort of, certificate or something to show that you can show for yourself that, okay, I actually took this bold step to do this, and this is how I am impacting not just me but the other people that I wanted to help if I had kept those things, and even more.
Mhm.
So it's progress. It's progress.
I love that. And I'd like to ask you about because it's one thing to declutter your home after, sometimes people have a loved one that passed away. They kept holding on to these things forever because, well, they don't know what to do with it. You can't throw it away, but you feel weird about it. That's one thing. But people can easily get into the habit of buying new things again and filling up their homes and their lives again. And I know that, or I think you have a service as well, or maybe perhaps not necessarily like a service that people can pay for, but the way that you share your content, you teach people also just about creating a minimalist lifestyle.
Yes, yes. And it also goes further to the type. Okay, so we focus on clothing, so it even goes further to educating them about the type of fabric that they probably have already in their wardrobes, or if they're going to buy something, they should probably choose, because there are certain items of certain fabric or textiles that are biodegradable and some are not.
Mhm.
Right. So we're trying to educate them to find ways in which that, okay, although they want to get the next nicest thing to wear, or they actually need to buy something to wear. They don't have a particular thing that they need maybe for a meeting the next Monday.
Yeah.
We kind of give them this information. No, we kind of we give them this information. We try to do it in a fun way, so that they are well equipped with the knowledge they need when they're making their own decisions when we are not there, right? Another thing that we do is with our community, we try to help them build capsule wardrobes so that it's, I was the right word for this. Why do I keep forgetting my words? You do know what a capsule wardrobe is, right?
Yes, I know. I
Yeah,
tried that
yeah.
once.
How did it go?
I guess it went well. To be honest, I'm that person that probably needs your services. I actually did use I used
It
a
makes sense.
client of mine. She has a business. Well, her strategy or her business is called Inner Style Coaching. So what she does is she
Mm.
coaches people to dress the way that they are, that their personal to reflect their personality and their lifestyle. And so I did go through a short program with her where I even transitioned my hairstyle. So I had different style of hair before, but I wanted to do locked hair, but I had so many limiting beliefs about whether it would work for me, why it would not work, blah, blah, blah. And I transitioned to that, wearing more clothes that are suitable to me. And so during that, I had to declutter my wardrobe. And I have a lot of things, a lot of clothes that I never wear. Especially now that we've gone over COVID and we were homebound and I work from home and I'm a mom of three. So I don't have quite a bit of a social lifestyle.
Wow!
So I'm not as much out and about as I used to. So I don't actually have a lot of places to go to wear my clothes besides here right
You
now.
guys, okay, I'm sorry, like when you just mentioned mother of three, I'm just like, you're doing so well.
Thank you.
Because I've seen, let me just say, in fact, let me just use this. I just recently got a dog, a puppy. And sometimes I'm like, boy, no, why did I? But you're doing amazing with three kids. So like, can I just give you like that little congratulations?
We're
Yeah,
working
you
hard.
can continue.
So it's I have this thing in my head. I'm like, oh, I wish I want to be a minimalist. But then I look at this, I'm like, oh, I want to buy this right now. So always between here and there, and I'd love to. And so I have tried the capsule wardrobe. I was like, okay, X number of outfits. I think it was like 12 or something, to do this and that. And in total, I think it was like 21 I did, with jeans and pair of shoes and everything included.
To be
And
honest,
yeah,
oh, okay. I was just going to say, to be honest, minimalism is not. It's not as limiting as people think it is. It
exactly.
doesn't mean you should have just like the same, the way they use Steve Jobs' story, just have the same T-shirts, the same color in your wardrobe. Although it works for some people, there are
Yeah,
different levels to minimalism. But
yeah.
as long as what you have is enough, you
Hmm.
have just enough. You're not trying to do excess of, everything.
Yeah. But I
For me,
think
that's the basis
what I
there.
changed or what I learned from that experience is that, first of all, I should wear my nice clothes. Like, I'm the type of
Mm,
person, and I grew up with a mom who was always like, you have to have clothes for, special occasions and clothes for every day and blah, blah, blah. I think a lot of Africans have this, but which meant
my
that
mom.
if I didn't have any special occasions, there were stuff that I would never wear. And then the world, COVID happened, which means there was no special occasion anywhere. There was home,
Yeah,
home, and home, and home. And I realized, there are clothes that I'm never going to wear, or that I've never worn. And I was like, I'm probably never going to wear it. Like, I have to say goodbye to them. So I gave them away or sold stuff, and so I started doing that. And I realized one thing is, I'm going to wear my nice stuff. Like, I'm not going to wait for an occasion. I'm going to create that occasion. Sometimes I just feel like
I
dressing up.
love that.
I will dress up and wear my nice earrings and shoes or whatnot. And then the second thing is, now I'm more intentional about what I buy. So I look at, is this fitting my, the exercise I did with that coach at that time with my clients, which is, does this fit my lifestyle, my personality? And is this something that gives me an extra oomph? When people see it, is it like, oh yeah, this is so you? Or is this another piece that is
Mm,
just like, oh, I need a t-shirt? Obviously, I'm just going to have home clothes and stuff like that. But as I'm growing older, I'm becoming more intentional with what I buy. So the quality of things, and also it fitting with my lifestyle and my personality, which leads me to a minimalist lifestyle, because I'm not just buying, buying, buying.
yeah, Bean, I love everything you just said, and honestly, kudos to you, and even especially with your intentionality, because that's something most people don't do, and that's some way in which you are contributing to slow fashion, and that's great. So thank you
Oh, thank
actually for doing
you.
all of those things.
Yeah, I'm really, I rarely go shopping. When I may see things and I like, and I'm like, okay, maybe I can find this another time. But if I buy this outfit, how many things can I wear it to? How many times?
Mm,
So that's how I try to be intentional about it. So yeah, thank you so much. Maybe let's transition into, some tips that you can share with, people who'd like to lead a more minimalistic lifestyle. Because you said it's not just the clothing. Could you share some
mm.
tips with us that could help us, streamline our whole kind of lifestyle, different touch points, maybe?
Okay, so if let me just start with the clothing, and then I'll move to
Mm-hmm.
other aspects of it. So starting with clothing, I love what you mentioned, where you went through a coaching session with your friend who or your client who helped you, figure out that clothing that's best for you. I would say for even that, know your style or your type. Some people are V shape, some people are H, square. All of those things. Know that that would also guide you as to the type of clothing you buy, so you don't just buy and then you wear. You're like, I'm not feeling it. It doesn't work for me, and then you put it aside, not wear it again for the next couple of years, right? The next thing I would say is, like you said, have statement pieces, things that make you feel like, I think you use the word you use actually feel really happy when you step out, or even you can even wear at home. You feel comfortable with that. Have comfortable clothes as well, like, but not too many, not many that you don't need. But off into other aspects of it, I would just say that be real with yourself. Take your time, because it doesn't just happen in a day. Decluttering on its own can take years for some people, and that's if you're just doing it little bit by bit. Or you have a crazy schedule, but you're trying to, do your part for yourself and for, the environment. So I would just give a tip where you can just put cute baskets in a corner somewhere, or a couple baskets and nicely placed around your home. So if you come across something that you don't think you've worn, or your kids have worn, or your husband has worn in a long time, you could just nicely roll it up, fold it, and just drop it into any of those baskets. And at the end of the month, you could, okay, carry everything, and you know, you can bring it over to Elnak, or you can try and find a local recycling center, or you can also donate and give them out, as you mentioned you do, which is awesome. Are there any more that I would love to share? You also said a few as well, which I love, like you to being intentional with it. I love, also know your style. I love suits, although it's very hot here. And the reason I love suits is tied to my relationship with my father, because I love that kind of relationship. And all the suits I have are my father's suits. So you can also do clothing swaps as well, right? You can sew your clothes, like you said, the things you don't use. Some of the easy ways to do them, if you don't have a facility like mine, my company near you, you can sew your clothes. You can swap with a good friend, best friends. You can also spread the word. Spread the word. If you are someone who has tried minimalism, or just not, and not, like I said earlier, it's not a scary thing. It doesn't mean do not have anything, right? It just means have what you need at that point in time. And as you're growing in life, you enter different phases of your life where you need separate different things, or you have to let go of certain things. So as and when you need things, you are allowed to have what you need. So it's not a lacking mentality. It's actually an uplifting mentality. And if you have that privilege of being able to be a minimalist, or being able to because some people are out there who are only bothered about where they can get their next meal. So minimalism, really, they don't know why they have to worry about that. But if you are privileged enough to be able to create a minimalist lifestyle, talk to your friends about it, because we need more people thinking this way, more people doing things the right way. Not when I say the right way, I mean with the means with which they get rid of their stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's about it. That's all about what I have off the top of my head. So
Yeah, and
share as tips.
as you were speaking, a few more came to mind, such as people, especially I'm thinking there was just Black Friday was just last week or something, and it's like, oh, people are always caught up in sales. Oh, it's sales. I have to buy. You don't have to buy anything. Don't get fooled and pulled into that universe of having to buy things when you don't need it. Buy things when you need it. And so I tend to do my shopping, like I rarely go out and do shopping, but I do it in the weekdays on a Monday morning, to be honest, when there's not a lot of people, when the shops are clean, at least when I do it in Europe, when I know that the people in the shop, it's a fresh day for them. They're really there. They have the time to guide me through the things. I don't go on a Friday or a Saturday when it's like crazy.
I love that.
Pool and the stress. So about what you need ahead before you go shopping. It's like they say, don't go shopping, grocery shopping on an empty stomach, because you'll buy everything that you think you need, but you don't. Same thing. Don't go shopping with too much money thinking, oh, I'm just window shopping. Because if you have the money, you'll buy. Just go when you need something and have an idea of what you're looking for, so that you can go in, get the specific help to get that specific piece. And then something that I saw today, I don't know how big it is in Ghana, but I think in Europe and in America, you have a culture of swapping or renting clothes nowadays. It used to be renting luxury items, but now today, actually, I saw someone posting a picture of themselves, and someone commented, I really love your jeans lately. Where do you get them from? And they mentioned a brand that rents jeans. And I was like, wow, really? Jeans rental? I've never heard of that. But I know that there's it's kind of a new thing to like secondhand clothing store or thrift store. But now, as a loan, people buy, they wear for a couple of weeks, I guess. I don't know how it works, but I thought, oh, that's interesting. So wherever you live in the world, find out about ways that, if you're really a sucker for special shoes and special handbags, rent it out, for especially for a special occasion. Why go out and buy it when, if you like to swipe, to change bags all the time, rent it. You could.
Yeah, I love that. And you reminded me, So there was a video shoot that I got to help with not so long ago, but they didn't have clothing, and I was like, wait, you guys don't have clothing. So I hooked them up with clothes from my store that we had,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
that just gave me that reminded me about that. So we
Yeah.
don't do it much here. We don't do it
Mhm.
much here, but we have to do more of it.
Yeah, so there are different ways. So I think definitely that. Do you have any other tips for not necessarily clothing related, but just lifestyle more things that you do personally that has helped you to be more sustainable, intentional, whatever, more, minimalistic?
It kind of aligns with everything what you just said. Because personally, let's say the days I have to go out, if I'm not working, I actually have to sit down and plan, like you mentioned. So I'm happy you mentioned that. Actually, sit down and plan what I'm doing because I will not lie. Although I run this company, if I'm not careful, I could do that. Go into the store and just, oh my God, that looks pretty. Let me just get that. So I'm happy with the fact that I get to experience this, and I have experienced it with being struggling with minimalism. But that's why I'm happy that my business is there to help people who struggle like me to do better. So that's one thing I love. Another thing is I do well to not just plan my day, plan my year.
Mm-hmm.
Because that also helps me in the sense of what am I doing for the first quarter of the year, the second quarter, third quarter? What do I need? So I am ready for it. So not just that when the event comes up, I'm not trying to buy something new for it, or I'm not trying to find a way to make up for what I didn't prepare for. So for instance, this meeting like this, I'm fortunate enough to have a ring like that I'm using right here. But I did think ahead of this year and think about, okay, what would I be needing more of? It would be sad to actually, because and the good thing is I use this more often. It's to be sad to just use it once in a while and just be done with it. So I like repetitive. I like to have a repetitive lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
and not just a once in a while thing. I think that's one thing that's really helped me. So most of the things I have around me are things I use all the time. So that's another thing I do personally.
I love that. I love that the planning, you talked about planning ahead. I am big on that. I'm a bit type A when
Mm.
it comes to planning. Well, obviously, I'm a coach, but I personally plan my first quarter, and I'm now already planning next year. Like I'm planning my first quarter already, and I advise everybody, business owner or not, to plan their year. I think it's people live randomly too much, and it's life is too short to be living your life randomly. Like you should be intentional about your life. Like what are you doing,
Yeah.
where are you going, who are you meeting? I'm not saying being too rigid and so planned that you don't have space for spontaneity. How do I pronounce it? Mispronounce it, but
It's a word. I get
to be
you.
spontaneous, but it's important to plan, because otherwise if you don't have a plan, you end up being part of someone else's plan. You're like, oh, I didn't, okay, you just happen to be there, and then you just so I love that you're doing that, and especially as you said, planning for things like buying things that you're going to need more often. I have a ring
Mhm.
light. You have, that's why the light quality is so good at your side.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that you need to know, oh, wait a second, I'll be needing that more often. Like, and now I started doing these interviews and I started thinking, am I going to be doing this way more? I may have to invest in a special software.
Mm.
And someone wouldn't think about, but I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll invest in that thing, because I think if I'm going to do it more often, it might improve the quality, the sound, this. And so I'm thinking way ahead when this is a
It
series.
also helps too.
So it's
I
important
love
to
that.
think in these terms of what you will need in the upcoming weeks, months, so that you can prepare for it financially, but also make time for it in your calendar. So yeah, thanks for sharing that.
And also learn to say no. Learn to say no with things that are not aligned with your path or your plans. I mean, if there are things that are aligned and you didn't plan for them, they're aligned. I assume that's fine. But if it's something that's way out of your plan, learn to say no.
You're speaking my language right now. I love it. Boundaries, learn to say no. Again, it goes for everyone, but especially as business owners, it goes back to your why. You said in the beginning of our conversation, why you're doing this, the vision for your business. So anytime an opportunity comes about, I know it's very difficult for small business owners to say no to opportunities. Oh, do you want to do that? And people are like, oh, this is a great chance. Maybe I should say yes. But it's always important to look back at, not in an opportunistic way, but more like how aligned is this with my current goals and strategy and objectives? And is this the right time? Or is this a good thing at all? And so I love it when I've had to learn this. And when I speak with someone for a request or anything, and they tell me, you know what, maybe not right now, or I don't think it's, I love that. I'm like, good for you. I'm like, they said no to me, but I'm happy for them because I'm like, you know what, that's great. I'm really happy because someone else may have said yes and it might not be aligned. And then you end up feeling resentful because you feel like the person stole your time, but they didn't. You said yes.
I love this conversation. I love it.
So thank you for those tips. I think I definitely love them. It's a reminder for us all. And if this is new for you as you're listening to this, take note, honey. Take note. Rewatch this and definitely take notes and apply it for your year to come. Is there anything else you'd like to add before I move into where we can, find out more about your work, how we can work with you?
Well, not really. I think all I have to say is I one thing I love is learning new things and just learning stuff, remembering about relearning stuff, over and over again. I love that, and that's something I've done on this meeting today, where you are. I'm not sure if you know, but you also teach.
Oh. You're welcome. Yeah. You're welcome. I absolutely love learning too. I think we're forever learning. So we should all be open to every situation is an opportunity to learn, I say. So I never go into a space or into a program or a course or a meeting thinking, oh, I've heard it all, whatever, because someone else's perspective can help you look at things a different way. So yeah, thanks for having such an open mind and thanks for sharing that. What is in store for LNAC and for you for the next 6 months to a year? What can we expect from your work?
Okay, so we are hoping to partner with a couple of companies like UNICEF. And I don't know if you know about the OL Foundation. We are hoping that finds out. But aside from that, as a business on its own, we are looking to expand our machinery or our tech so that, we can innovate this space when it comes to textile recycling. We are also looking to do more of our detachment services, provide more quality services to people, and also gather data on the space in Ghana because whether you believe it or not, there isn't much data on textile waste here. So we have already started gathering some, but we know there's so much more to do. So for us, yeah, that's it. And everything else can be found on our website, elnacrecycle.com. So
great. Yeah. So much. So how can that ties in perfectly with my next question, which is how can we get in touch with you? How can we work with you?
Well, yes, if you go to our website, all of our info is there. But if you want to message me personally, my email is leonakwan's@outlook.com. So leonakwan's19 at outlook.com. You can also call us at 055-702-8503. Yes, always open to, having more conversations like this and, helping in top services.
And on social media, where can we find you?
Oh, yeah. So on Instagram at Elnac Recycles with an S at the end, and on YouTube as Elnac Recycle. Yeah. And LinkedIn as well, for the same Elnac Recycle. You can find us on Twitter, Elnac Recycle GH.
Lovely. So if you're interested to, get any help decluttering your home, learning how to have a more minimalistic lifestyle, just want to support the cause, definitely reach out to Emma. I will leave all the details in the description box here below. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I truly enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Emma, for sharing your story and journey with me and you today. And I cannot wait to come down to Ghana to visit your workshop, your play, the tour, and maybe do another interview live face to face together. Thank you.
I would love that. Thank you too. Thanks to everyone watching as well.
Bye.